Hi, y'all. It's Bridget Cutchaw with Real Things Living. Today, my guest is Grace Redman. She is an entrepreneur, a success coach, a speaker, and a best-selling author. She's here to share some great insight for everybody. Can you say hi, Grace?
Hello. Thank you so much for having me, Bridget. I appreciate it.
I love talking to women like you because you've been through a lot. You
Yep.
experienced a lot, and I love the spirit of what you're doing.
Thank
And how long ago did you start your business?
So I've been an entrepreneur for 25 years. I started Stansbury Staffing 25 years ago.
Okay.
And 9 years ago, we started the success coaching side of the business called Dare to Achieve.
Okay.
Yes.
And so we all need that. We are very guilty, especially entrepreneurs. We can't do it alone. And you're
Oh,
helping lift them up and to learn what they need to, I should say fix, but what to focus on. Right.
yeah. Yes. I've always had a coach. Well, I've had therapy. So I had a therapist for 25 years. And I've also had coaches.
Okay.
Always had a coach in business, and I'm so grateful to my coaches because I don't believe because you feel when you're an entrepreneur, you feel like you're alone on an island.
Yeah.
And so my coaches really helped me get to where I am today, and I'm grateful for them.
That's that's good. So when you said the word coach, what's the difference between a coach and a mentor? I've heard that term too.
That's a great question. So typically coaches are individuals who elicit the information out of you, like they pose the question. Or a mentor provides, advice and direction.
Right.
And so I merge both. I definitely make an effort to elicit the answers out of, my clients because everything you need is all the answers are within you.
That's true. And you just have to be asked the right questions to
Right.
reflect on it. And that's definitely something that we all need. And I know it's a very popular, I should say popular, something that we all need. And I've noticed business is just constantly, not just business, everything is constantly changing. And I think having a coach can help you deal with unexpected changes.
Oh, absolutely. I, again, I'm constantly changing the way that I do business and pivoting, especially the last 5 years. And my coaches definitely have helped me because, you fall into some fear. And when you're alone, your mind kind of goes haywire, as we all know. And so when, my coaches, help me get reset and, recognize that, fear isn't always bad. Fear for me sometimes has motivated me
Ah,
and learned how to reframe the fear and understand where the fear is coming from.
that's a very good point. People let fear hold them back, but I'm like you. I think fear, just like you said, motivates you and you're going to accept that challenge. You need to be, I
Yeah.
call it a challenge. It just depends
Yeah.
on the situation. And I understand that you mentioned, like, was it 4 years ago? You've had a lot of different changes
For
going
sure.
on. You're the COVID, right?
Yes. I believe we all had, you
Yes.
know, during COVID, my entire business changed, the way we do business, our lifestyle. We were just out and about all the time. I'm so grateful that, now, things are shifting, but it changed the way we do things forever. And it's not all bad. I mean, one great component is, the hybrid schedule. So now you have the ability, most people are working from home and in the office, which gives us a lot more flexibility and time. Well, they say sometimes now when you're working from home, you're working more, but it cuts out the commute time. So you can have a little bit more balance in your life to focus on things outside of work.
That's true. Focus on what's important. And I like the aspect of hybrid work. I've been fortunate when I was a corporate girl. I was fortunate to be able to work remotely back then when the emails came out because I had to travel a lot in my role. And I asked them, why do I have to come to the office if I'm traveling so much for business? And they're like, you're right. So we would email and then it got a little bit better with what's the word? It was Zoom. Zoom.
Yes.
I'm like, we're using Zoom right now, but
Yes.
that helps a lot as well. See
Absolutely.
faces.
Yes. And so when I first started, my career, again, yes, we had the internet, but we shared, in the office I was in before I started my own business, we had one computer and we had to take turns. And we did it that way. Like you had to, I'm dating myself, but you
But
had to phone book out and make the phone calls at your desk. And so you were tied to your desk, from 8 to 5. However, once, we got these laptops, then you had a little bit more flexibility. It's amazing, especially, I was raising a family. So I can
right,
pick up my children, work in the office till 3, then go pick up my children and then finish at home on the laptop. Whereas before that, that wasn't possible. So change is a great thing as well.
it is. You just need to be open to it and use it
Yeah.
the right way that's best for you, right?
Yeah.
In your situation. And that's something I've learned is we're all unique, but yet we all have things in common. And you're right, the internet and the email, all that stuff. I just remember email was a game changer for
Well,
for
I mean, look, I can go anywhere. Here's my email.
right.
You know, of course, I need to get to work at my desk.
Right.
How amazing is this?
It is. It's so funny how it's gotten better, but at the same time, people they look at their emails too much,
Yes,
right?
that's the flip side of the coin that we were talking about.
Right.
And the ADHD, it's like the distraction.
We get distracted, and I'm one of those people. I don't have notifications turned on because I don't want that to distract me. I
Right.
try to choose a time when to look, and if it's something is critical from a client, for example, they have my phone number, right?
Yeah.
And I have it set up to where I only pick up, answer a phone number if it's in my contact list. Otherwise, I don't answer and I put it all on silent. I've learned that too, Grace, to not be so distracted. To turn off notifications is a big thing, I think, for me.
Well, I've recently started putting the phone in do not disturb.
Mhm.
Because also when I was trained, in business 25 years ago, I was trained in urgency. Like if a client reached out to you, you had to respond to them. The rule was you had to respond to them like immediately. And so I've had to break that habit because that keeps you, in such a heightened state.
Yes.
Because, you know, sure, urgency is good with your clients. However, then you set an expectation that's unrealistic and unsustainable. But I did it for 20 something years
It
and,
was the
and
role, right? It
yeah,
was your
my role. But the do not disturb button has been amazing.
I like that, right? You don't get you check it when you have to or when you need to, when you make time for it. And it's something that helps you what's the word? Focus a little bit and it helps with your mindset and is that
Yes. It's so again, the phone, social media, technology, it's definitely has so many pros. Like we wouldn't be here right now if it wasn't for it. And on the flip side, like we were talking earlier, there's also an element of overwhelm, at least for me.
right?
As I
Agreed.
mean, naturally, we can only really take in between 5 and 9 pieces of information at a time. However, we're constantly bombarded with so much information that I get flooded, and my nervous system is like, okay, time out. Where, 10 years ago, I didn't feel that.
You're right.
So
Right.
much coming our way, and it's a dopamine hit.
Yes, you're right. That's a good point. And I think that's probably why I mentioned earlier too, I'm drawn to nature because I think that helps calm me down and to go outside
Yes.
and be by some trees. I like trees. Um,
Sister, I get outside twice a day now. After I watched Dr. Casey Means podcast with Huberman, that was an amazing podcast. Can I give a shout out to them?
okay.
Um, and she recommended, getting outside. But I've heard this for so long, like get in nature. And I did during the pandemic and then you fall off. But there was something about the way she presented it. Whereas now I get out twice a day to walk in nature. And I can't believe it's been a game changer. Something
Yeah,
that's,
it definitely is. That's something we take for granted. And again, it's that having it helps set the right mindset, like you had said before. And if you want to reach a goal to help you succeed, you have to find the right things to do, set a
yeah,
schedule, right?
right.
Oh, Yeah, what
It
would you recommend, the first thing that come to mind, to help you come into the right mindset? I mentioned nature is for me. Is there anything else that you would recommend?
Sure. I mean, mindset is huge, and I definitely teach, mindset, mental performance, and something that I would recommend, and I know this may sound cliche, but gratitude.
Yes.
And so often, and I grew up in an environment where we focused on what was wrong, and then you have to fix what was wrong. And what it is, it's okay, focus on what is working. What are you grateful for? That doesn't mean you're going to settle for less. It just means, okay, I'm grateful for these things and I'm open to more and better, and recognize the gap. Like, I'm grateful and I know there's a gap and I honor it, and I'm grateful for where I'm at and I'm open to more and better. We're not settling when we're grateful.
That's true. You're appreciating what is right in front of you, what you have.
And and that brings more.
Uh-huh.
Like,
That's true.
we have it backwards. It's like, okay, I'm going to focus on everything that's wrong. Well, we keep focusing on everything that's wrong, we're going to get more of what's wrong.
That's true. The negative stuff is not good for your brain. Mindset.
Not good. However, our mind is wired, with a negativity bias for us to focus on, the negative to keep us safe. However, we can definitely, rewire that trait. I know it's easier said than done.
Right. I agree with that. And it's just amazing. You're talking about the gratitude stuff and I always like to say focus, being in the moment a lot when I'm feeling under stress. And that's one of the reasons why I like dogs too.
I love my dog.
They remind you to be in the moment because they're sniffing everything. Let them sniff, you know what I'm saying? And then not just make them go walk faster. I've learned that too, right?
So guilty. I was my poor dog.
Right.
So my husband came home from a meeting one time and he said, someone in the meeting gave some really wise advice. And I said, what was it? He said, be like a dog.
Oh,
I'm
really?
I'm like, really? Why? He said, because the dog is present.
Yes.
And so you just pretty much, affirmed that wisdom.
Wow. That's something that, right, I've learned over the years. Maybe that's why, I don't know why I've connected with dogs unknowingly or subconsciously. I should say listen to them, but use them as an example. And some people, I had a podcast guest a couple months ago, and she is her book is called Soulmate Dog. She's in the arts and science and all that kind of stuff. And how it's not just, they're not just protecting you. You learn from the dogs. They're like your soulmate in a way, right?
I was not a dog person until 10 years ago. And I was driving down the street one time and I saw a lady with a dog in her lap in her car. I'm like, oh my God, she's an idiot. And then holy cow, that's my cousin. So I called her up. I said, I'm going to talk smack about you. And then she goes, well, would you like to watch the dog? I need to go on vacation. I'm like, no. She goes, please. So I said, okay. Well, that changed my entire perspective. And then I've had dogs ever since, and they're amazing and so comforting.
They are comforting, and I think I got connected to them when I was really young, because I mentioned earlier my father was in the military, and I didn't see my dad much when I was young. So he got me a dog, right? And so that I think as a dog when I was a child, that's kind of like my dad. You know what I'm saying?
It is. It's a part of the companion. I could totally get it.
And I didn't think about that until I got older, and everybody was like, "Why does she like dogs so much?" And I think I have a connection for some reason. Like I needed a father figure as far as dog was at the time, but he was in Vietnam. I didn't know that kind of stuff, right?
Dogs are amazing.
Yeah, they are.
And, again, like as a little girl, you had the dog and it was your companion and the comfort. And so it makes total sense.
And my mom was around and had an older brother, but there was just something about that dog, you know what I'm saying? And it was comforting, and he was the dog. Dogs know the very, he probably knew I missed my dad. You know what I'm saying? It's just,
Sure.
it's,
Can I share, this is a short story, but
please share.
about dog. So one of my studios, the owner recently had a heart attack, and he has a dog. Of course, the dog's name Yogi. And so when I called to check on Tommy, I'm like, Tommy, how are you feeling? He's all, I'm feeling better. He said, Yogi saved my life. I go, what do you mean? He said, Well, I started having some pain, but I just thought it was gas or something. So I laid down and then Yogi got right on top of me, looked me in my face and started crying, whimpering. And I'm like, really? He said, so in that moment I knew. So I took myself to the hospital and they said, had I not come in, I would have not made it. I'm like, the dog saved us. The dog, I know it's so easy.
No, we need to respect the other animals like that and embrace them. I mean, not everybody likes dogs, and that's okay. There's a
That's
reason
okay.
behind it.
Okay. I was one of those people that laughed
I
at dog
I
people.
and there's people who like cats, and cats, whatever. I just think
Yeah, but
it
that's the beauty of, acceptance and, and again, you love the dog because the dog was your comfort when you were growing up. Whereas someone else, the cat, maybe dad would have brought them a cat. And so
right.
how, our experiences or our moments kind of impact us and we carry it forward with us. It's a beautiful thing.
It's a beautiful thing, and I think that's something to share, like, these kind of stories. Like, that's amazing. This person was saved by the dog,
Yes.
and they knew.
Yeah. Mhm.
Dogs know their, owners, and you should say the owners, that's the wrong word, but they're a family, they're human family.
With energy, and
Yeah,
everything's energy. And it's amazing how dogs are so in tune, and maybe they're in tune because how present they are. Because oftentimes I know when I'm not being present and, because it's hard to be present 100% of the time. Like we said, we have so many distractions. And I do believe the more present we are, the more in tune and connected we are. So that's a beautiful awareness. Like the dogs are in tune because of how present they are. That's insane.
it's beautiful, and again, to me, it gives you a positive mindset,
Yeah.
right? It helps you deal with, we had mentioned before, like, failures and setbacks, and so can you mention what we can learn from a failure or a setback?
Oh my goodness. I really wish I learned so much sooner in life that there is no failure, that it's feedback, because I grew up in an environment that conditioned me to believe that you cannot fail. If you fail, you are a loser. And really, fail you should make an effort to fail every day because that's how we learn and grow and gain knowledge and wisdom, especially as
That's
entrepreneurs.
that's true, 'cause you're trying, and you're trying,
Yes.
and you have to pivot if you need to.
I'd rather take a risk and fail than not make an effort.
That's good. I mean, it is. Some people are risk averse, but I think it's okay to, I mean, I should say I'm risky, but I mean, to a point, I
Good
would be.
good point. I mean, you have to also be discerning and
Yes.
kind of feel in to see what's in alignment. I can't just go jump off the cliff without,
Right.
hey, hey, um, but I wish I learned that, sooner that there really is no failure.
And
Now, if I keep making the same mistake over and over, that's not a mistake or a failure anymore. That's a choice, and then I have to own it. And I have to own and take accountability because obviously that's not a mistake anymore. Like I'm making a conscious choice in doing this over. Well, sometimes it's not so conscious, really. So,
some reason you want to do it, right? There's some, and
right.
some
Because you feel like it's gonna make you feel better. It's make everything we do is because we think it's gonna make us feel better. We're getting something out of it.
right. You're getting some kind of takeaway from it, some kind of dopamine, maybe. That's probably what
Right. That's totally right. Because we wanna go towards pleasure and avoid pain.
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah, we look for those things, even though down the road it could cause you more pain. But again, that's why you probably have those coaches, like, around you to help you they're listening to you, and then they're going to ask the right question. I think it's very helpful.
Right, asking the right question. Yes. And asking yourself the questions as well.
You know?
Being, inquisitive with yourself. And if you are, in a situation that isn't working for you, really take the time. I know we've been talking about to get present and sit quietly and really start reflecting and asking yourself the questions because there's patterns of behavior there that we may not be aware of. And the answers are in that pattern of behavior.
That is good that we're talking more about this in our culture too. As you said that, I noticed more people are being open about their, I should say their mental health, or it's probably related to their mindset, right? We're being more open about that.
Yes, mental health, mindset, it's all connected.
Right, it is. And it's based on your what you have around you.
That's true. Our environment is huge, and that's why they say it's so important. What do they say? You're the sum of the five people that you hang around with the most. And that's why it is so important to surround yourself with the right tribe, the right people. And I know sometimes it's not easy. There are going to be people in our lives that are challenging. And I've learned that those people are also our teachers.
Yes. I was thinking that, yeah.
The greatest freaking teachers. And just our environment is so important, and the people that we allow, in our space is very important.
That is true. It like you're right, you're seeing what they're doing and you can reflect on that and like, whoa, would I do that? Or and you gotta again, I totally believe what you're saying. You gotta be so careful who you surround yourself with. I've always been if someone brings too much negativity around me, I don't want to be around them.
That's right. And again, also it's not coming from a place of judgment. It's coming from a place of discernment and self-care. Now, we can keep these people in our lives, doesn't mean you let them go, but
Mm,
also what boundaries are you setting?
that's true. Boundaries is a good that's a good word. Boundaries is so important. And saying I've something I've heard a lot too and read a lot is to not say yes to everything too.
Oh my gosh, that's like what like I am so guilty because I love life and I love people and I love connecting. And this is one of my biggest challenges is saying yes to so much. And then I spread myself thin.
Yeah.
So it used to come from a place of people pleasing, but now it comes from a place of it's fun. This is fun.
Right. I like connecting as I've gotten, excuse me, I should say older, but
I serve like fine wine. You get better with time, sister.
right. I'm wiser. I love being, I've always liked being around people because of the energy. That's why I like the positive aspect of it. And you're learning so much. It's something I believe being open to learning is so much to enrich your lessons for learning.
I'm a lifelong learner, and I will continue to learn until I'm on, take my last breath.
That's I think it's good. It's good for your brain too. It's good to
Absolutely. And it gives us something to look forward to as well. And sometimes, when I was younger, I would be like, okay, why is this person still working? They could be retired. They don't need to work. And what I'm understanding now is it's really not about the money. It's about being engaged and being of
that
service, having a purpose. And when you have those things, it inspires you to get up each day to move forward. And now I understand.
I like the purpose aspect. I think that is definitely I know people who are retiring around my age, and I just don't know if I'll ever I shouldn't say retire, but I want to be engaged, more engaged, because that
Yeah.
helps me. And I can help other people that way.
Absolutely. I really my intention was to be retired already.
Right.
And then I was like, why? What would I do? Because when you're young and you're hustling, you're raising a family, you're like, I can't wait. I'm going to be retired. And now I'm feel better than I ever have. I have more energy, more drive, more desire, more purpose. So I'm not retiring. Thank you.
You're obviously helping other people, so many other people to help them to improve their life and to succeed in whatever goal they're trying to reach, right?
Absolutely. And honestly, it's really bigger than that because yes, I did achieve success. However, I achieved it from the 10x, hustle and grind mentality, which there's nothing wrong with that. However, I was also in a prison of my own making, and I didn't feel fulfilled. And I just felt like I was constantly chasing the dragon. And so then once I started doing the deep healing work and recognizing where my patterns came from and started to feel the emotional and mental freedom, that's really what I want to share. That's what I want to teach.
Oh, that's good.
Once we get to that place of like emotional and mental freedom, life is amazing. And I want everyone to feel that way because I lived in that prison. And yeah, maybe I had the red bottoms and the house and the vacations, but I was stuck in a prison of my mind. I didn't have freedom. Now I have the freedom.
And it's awesome. That's see what you're doing is such an inspiration for other people, especially women, because it is a tough, you know, the environment you and I raised our sons in or our kids, whatever. It was we both had to hustle and work and
Yeah.
travel and had
Yeah.
boy and who the hell's gonna help me with my
Well,
kids? We get at the same time.
when I look back, I do not know how I did it because my husband traveled all the time and I didn't really have support. I had to pay, people to support me. And when I look back, I'm like, I have no idea how I did it, but we did it.
Right? We thriving. You're thriving right now, and it makes me to get through the from one end to the other. That just takes a lot of tenacity
Does.
and resilience, and you pick yourself up because you're. I see it as you're learning. I'm sure we made all of us made a lot of mistakes raising our. If you're a working mom, we made a lot of mistakes, but yes, that I just laugh now. I mean, at least my sons, they understood. I'm a boy mom. I joke
Me
about
too. Me
right,
too.
like right. We have so much in common. I survived raising boys.
I one mistake. And I tell them, I said, when I see some of their habits and patterns, I tell them, I said, you know what? I take accountability and responsibility for how that piece of you is because that's because of my enabling or that's because I did this. But now you're an adult, you're over 21 and it's your responsibility to start doing your work.
Right, and they're gonna learn, and I get some feedback from them now too, and they are very protective. I'm sure your sons are too of me, just because I am their mom, and so I'm really grateful for
Yeah.
that. And great, it's because even though we made mistakes, I still think you are kind, right? You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? That's really what it is. To me, it falls to that aspect, being kind, right?
I had a girlfriend, and she had a young son, and she was raising her brother because her mother died, and she was a beautiful, kind-hearted person. However, there was some time in her life where she got into heavy drinking and drugs and violence, and she had this around the boys when they were growing up. So they grew up in a very volatile environment. However, they both were very successful. So I asked her, I said, with all due respect, like this is coming from a place of love. Like I know what your boys went through, when you're going through your insanity. Like, how are they okay? She said, you know why? Because I told them that how much I love them. I encouraged them and I let them know, like, hey, your mom is messed up, but I love you. And so she said, I was just honest with them and I loved them. And I'm like, wow.
That is a good thing, and she was honest with them, and they were appreciated her even more, and they probably wanted to help her to get through that to the other side of
Yes.
drinking,
Well,
and that's just that's an amazing story that you should share.
and it goes back to our children are resilient and they want to be loved and seen and heard and.
The one thing as you were talking about the children, something that I ingrained in them is thankfully reading. I would because I always and I got my husband to read some stories to them too, and they remember that kind of stuff because I was a storyteller as a kid, and so I wanted them to be, I should say creative, but to look at things from a different perspective, Grace. That's kind of
Yeah.
I wanted to raise them
Yes.
that were, this is our family, but we got other people out there and be open to different perspectives.
Absolutely. And this is so funny because I've been listening to Tony Robbins and into self-development since I was 15 years old. And so around our home, I always had Tony Robbins playing or Joel Osteen on. And, at that time, the kids are like, what is that? That's so stupid. I don't want to listen. Can you And then I and I still have one of the sticky notes. I mean, this is probably from 15 years ago. My son did a sticky note. The more you learn, the more you earn. And he's put it on the kitchen cabinet. It's still there. And that definitely helped, them with mindset. So they're listening and they're watching when they're young.
They're listening and watching. And as you mentioned that sticky note, I had my older son was when he was a college student, was a vet tech working in
Mhm.
the field. And some woman wrote she put 3 sticky notes together telling his son, sorry, his name was Hudson, how kind he is and how polite he is, and thanked me. I'm like, oh, thank God he was. But I mean,
Mhm.
you still know with boys, especially, but I think when in college, when he learned he had to do some work, he learned to be, I always express that, got to be kind to people.
Yes.
To me, kind and nice is a little different.
Yes.
Oh, so it makes sense.
Yeah, totally. Totally. And that's the most important thing. I think my greatest accomplishment has been raising my sons. They're good people. And when, like I'm sure you could relate to this when, you're out and about in the community and they come up to you and say, man, I met your son. He's wonderful, kind. And at the end of the day, that's really for me. Yes, all this other stuff has been fun and achievement and success. But at the end of the day, the most important thing for me, I'm going to get emotional.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry.
Oh my God, is the success of my family, including my husband and my kids. That's been my greatest success.
That to me is the most important thing, a takeaway that what you're talking about we're all talking a lot about success, but it is you helped your family grow and your sons have a great reputation and your husband is, I don't know what he does for work, but he's still there. I mean, that's important too, right? You're
And
still
and
married.
that we're still married. I mean, that what journey, that's a whole other story in itself, right? A whole other podcast story. Um, but yes, that's that, when you hear the story, you'll know why it's been such my greatest accomplishment.
It is. It's a beautiful background that you have, and I like your openness and authenticity. I can even talk today. Being authentic, I think that is so important. And one last thing I want to ask you is, I know you are a success coach. So, what can you tell the audience what your 3 C's of success are?
Absolutely. I'm realizing there are so many more than 3 C's. But number one is clarity. You really need to get clear on what you want because the universe, is listening. And if we're not clear, because we're always creating and manifesting. So that's why it's good to get clear. Ask for what you want. And then you also need to be very committed and consistent with the actions that you're going to take to get to what you want because it takes action.
Yes, it does. I like how you threw in the word consistent. That is just something I get. You just got to tweak things and be consistent. Just like you and I am persistent in the world. I've been persistent with my podcast. I've been doing this for 5 years because
Excellent.
I like it. You know what I'm saying? And I'm connecting with people like you. We're learning so much from each other. And again, who knows if, I know some people who have multiple podcasts. I don't know if I could do that. But
It was my one podcast, and I'd love to meet you today.
yeah, I think we should reconnect again. And for those that are listening, Grace, what is the best place for them to connect with you? Can you share your links?
For sure. You can find me on social media, Grace Redman. My last name is Redman. And you can also visit me on my website because I have lots of incredible complimentary content there for, someone who may be looking to just better themselves. And we're very proud, of that free content. And you can find us at www.graceredman.com. And when you're there, definitely please feel free to subscribe to our newsletter and join us on YouTube.
I love this. I love your positivity. And that's definitely what I am connected to. I love positive people. And
So,
I'm so glad we connected, Grace. And for those that are listening, I'll include the actual links in the show notes.
yes. Thank you so much. Oh, it's been a pleasure being here with you. You're amazing and your energy is wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Grace. Talk to you guys soon.
Bye.